Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are breaking out the Snowman Friends stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh, and we're going to create a snowman card. Earlier this month I'm not sure if this month or the end of last month, I had created another card with a set. If you guys missed it, I'll link it at the end of the video. But let's jump in and do some stamping. I'm going to bring in my mini Misty, and then also some Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. We're going to do a little stamping on the cardstock with Memento ink. Both of those are alcohol marker friendly. We'll just use our magnet. We're only going to stamp 2 of the snowmen today, and they're about the same size. This little guy has the snow cap, the mittens, and the scarf. And then our next one, we're going to use the snowman with the scarf and the earmuffs. Let's pick these guys up with the lid of our Misty, grab our Memento ink, and we'll ink them up. And then we are going to do a little bit of coloring. I left the coloring in, but coloring snowmen is super easy, like penguins. For the most part, they're white, so all we're going to be coloring in is the accessories, but I left the coloring in just in case, and then I did leave the caps out, and I'll list the colors that I used up in the top right corner for you guys. We're going to zoom in, I'll play a little bit of music, and then when I'm done coloring, I will get you back. Okay, coloring was all done. I've already separated the dies. Now we're just going to line them up, tape them down, making sure they're centered, and then we'll go ahead and run these through our die cutting machine. I think these are so cute. I just love snowman. We haven't had any snow over here, and we used to. We haven't had snow during this time of year in quite a while, but anyway, I ran this through my die cutting machine, and our snowmen just look, I love the yellows and the teals. I think that's a great color combination. I want to zoom back out, and then we are going to do a little bit of die cutting with the Let It Snow script die. Both of these came out with the same at the same time, the latest release from Pretty Pink Posh, and I love the Let It Snow die. It's a real large die, so I thought we would die cut it out with some gold cardstock. We'll run this through our die cutting machine, and I thought we would use gold just to add a little bit of pizzazz, I guess. I'm just going to punch out all these pieces, and then we're going to actually layer this on some white cardstock. I wanted to create an outline, this way I could pop up Let It Snow, and so we'll just carefully punch these out. I have the eye to the it inside my gold cardstock. I'm glad it stayed there because usually I lose it. So it's a good home for it until I need it. Let's bring in some white, there it is right there. But we'll bring in white cardstock and my glue, and I'm going to start off with the snow first. We'll put that in the bottom, and then I'm just going to kind of layer these as close as I can together. So I did the snow first, then the let, and then I'm going to have the it almost completely next to the let. Actually, the T's will probably be, it'll probably be just overlapping. just so it'll fit on my card base here. And I think that is going to work out perfectly. The gold cardstock that I'm using takes a little bit of time to adhere, and so I'm just going to hold it down for a minute until it grabs that paper, and then I'm going to use my fussy cutting scissors, and we're going to fussy cut up, leaving a little bit of border on our lettuce snow. There's the eye, and I do need to re-glue that L first. And again, I'm going to leave a little bit of a border around it. Almost we're basically just creating a shadow with the white cardstock. I think this is a nice, when you have delicate sentiment lines like this, creating a shadow with your scissors is really easy to do, and it's nice because you can pop it up with foam adhesive. Okay, for my background, I wanted to do something a little bit different. You know, I love frames, but I haven't did a masking in a while. So I have some Gina K Masking Magic. This is the largest piece I have. I have to order some more actually. And then I'm taking a circle die, the largest one that I had, and I cut out a partial circle in that panel of masking paper. Next, I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to adhere that masking, the negative piece of the masking paper, to our panel. My panel wasn't quite wide enough, but I wasn't too worried about it because the bottom of my panel is going to be covered with some cardstock. So I just got to figure out which end I want to put this masking paper on. And I think we're just going to go all the way to the left side here. Line up those corners, and then I'm not too worried about the right because that right side will be covered up. Okay, we are going to do a little stenciling using this Pretty Pink Posh Circles stencil. I haven't used this, but it's such a neat stencil. We have our mask on there, and I did spray my stencil with pixie spray. Now we're going to go ahead and add our stencil over our panel. Once we have our circle stencil added, we're going to bring in some tumbled glass Distress Oxide ink, and then I'm just going to use my blending brush, and we're going to go over those circles. So we have a nice pale blue circle background. Just going to go over each of these circles. Technically, you don't really have to go over the bottom again because we're going to cover it with cardstock, but let's go ahead and do the lower portion. Now, once we have our circles covered with our tumbled glass, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to add another stencil right on top of this one. This next stencil is called Lattice. And again, this is already sprayed with pixie spray too. And I'm going to go ahead and layer this one right on top. So we're going to have a double layer of stencils. Now we're going to go over this one with Squeezed Lemonade Distress Oxide ink. I think if you do this, you could basically do a lot of different colors, but the colors you do want to make sure that when you mix them, it creates another color. So my blue and my yellow obviously is going to create a green. So that's what you should look for when you do this. So I'm removing my stencils, and I think the pattern inside the pattern looks really pretty. I'm going to go ahead and let's give a close-up look. Something a little different. I'm going to remove my masking paper, and it's going to reveal that circle. I kind of like that white corner with that little bit of textured background. Now I have some pale blue cardstock. We're going to go ahead, it's about a 1-inch strip. We're going to adhere that to the very bottom of our panel. I have a little bit overhanging, so we'll trim that off with some scissors. And then I also trimmed down a strip of that same gold cardstock that we use for the sentiment. I wanted to bring in a little bit more gold. So let's add some adhesive to that strip. And then we're going to adhere it to the left side. I do want to trim down about a 1/4 inch off the right of my panel to give room for that gold strip. So let's remove this here and add some tape, add our gold. I think it's just going to add a little extra warmth, I guess, a little extra specialness. Okay, now after we have this done, we're going to go ahead and take our Let It Snow. We'll flip this Let It Snow over, and then we're going to add some foam adhesive behind that. Just going to remove the release paper, and this is basically going to go over the seam of our blue cardstock. in that bottom area, just making sure that you can't see the seam of that cardstock. And you can see that the S and the T kind of slightly overhang, but since our panel is a little bit smaller than our card base, it's going to work out just great. I'm going to add a foam adhesive behind both of my little snowmen, and then these are going to go in that area just be above the S next to the L, and I think they look so cute. Okay, we're going to adjust just a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip over my panel and add some adhesive behind here, and then we'll take a white card base. I'm using a standard A2 size card base, and then we'll go ahead and add this panel to our card base. And you know what I ended up doing? I ended up adding it to where the right side was all the way to the right side of the card base. Now we need some bells and whistles, so I'm just going to use some Pretty Pink Posh buttercream jewels. We'll add a few next to the L, and then a few next to the S, and then that finishes off my card today, guys. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I think this will be my last post before the holiday. I hope your Christmas is wonderful and filled with lots of love and laughter, and I thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful and Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.